Hi, everyone. Welcome to week 2 of Introduction to Special Ed. I enjoyed our introductions this week. We have people with a variety of backgrounds and some with lived experiences with special education and with 504. So that's great. I'm really looking forward to having really rich discussions with all of you where you can take your background, whether it's in education or child psychology, whatever your background is, and give us an opportunity to look at things through your lens. So I think that's wonderful. And anybody here that it has a lived experience, either as somebody who had an IEP or 504 or has a child that is going or has gone through that process, your perspectives are really helpful at having all of us understand the material. So I really do appreciate that. So for week 2, we're going to look at an IFSP and IEP. So we're going to look at similarities and differences with that. We're also going to look at culturally relevant practices, accommodations and modifications, a little bit about universal design for learning, which is how we can design something so everybody can access it. And the best example I can give you, and I believe you have a copy of the cartoon in the course, is when there's a ramp, everybody can go up the ramp to get into the building. When there's stairs, somebody in a wheelchair would not be able to access it. So the ramp would be considered universal design. That's just a physical modification. That's universal design, but that can be applied throughout how we design our courses or the ways that we work with children. We're going to talk a little bit about specialized instruction and also the concepts of equity versus equality, which if you don't think about it, it's really easy to sort of conflate or jam the two of those, equity and equality, together. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. This week you have several readings to do about IFSPs, about the IDEA, accommodations and modifications, and again about universal instruction. You also have some videos to watch, and you do have some websites to take a look at. And if you did get the supplemental text, you'll see that chapters 2, 3, and 5 are the chapters that apply to this week's learning. For our discussion this week, what you're going to do is watch a YouTube video called Welcome to Holland. It's been around for a very, very long time, but I don't think it's dated. I still think it rings very true, at least to me. You're going to, in the discussion, talk about anything that surprised you. You're going to try to describe your personal experiences and at least one connection from this week's readings. And then talk a little bit about how you, in your role, can support parents with children that have special needs to make sure that we're really having as many positive outcomes as we can. Remember, in your discussion, you should be using references, and every reference should have at least one in-text citation, and that's the way that I'm going to know that you're making connections to either the current week's readings or any additional research that you might have done. Take a look at the rubric for the discussion just to make sure you know what all the expectations are and how many responses you need to make, etc. And I look forward to hearing from all of you in the discussion this week. For our assignment, we're going to dig a little bit into what are accommodations and modifications. That can be really tricky because accommodations change the how something is being taught. So it could be extended time, as an example, to do an assignment. It doesn't change the assignment, it changes the how. And then a modification changes the what. So it may be a different textbook at a lower reading level, or it may be the expectation that you only do a certain section of the assignment, or it might be a different assignment altogether. So you're really going to think about that difference between accommodations and modifications. And now that all of you have gone through sort of the IDEA and 504, you know that accommodations and modifications can be found on an individualized education program, an IEP, but only accommodations are found on a 504 plan, because think of that as sort of leveling the playing field. We're making accommodations, but we're not changing the what. We're just changing the how. So I hope that explains it a little bit more. So you're going to review a list of accommodations and modifications, and then you're either going to write a brief 2 to 3 page paper or do a 5 minute presentation that defines accommodations and modifications using the information I just gave you and the additional information in our readings and our videos this week. And then do some explaining about how accommodations and modifications fit together with the principles of universal design. And then I want you to choose at least one accommodation or modification as an example. And I already gave you one, the ramp. And then describe that. So you'll have to pick something besides the ramp, but pick an accommodation or modification that can be universally designed. And again, make sure that you take a look at the rubric before you complete your assignment, and that will give you a little bit more guidance as to how you should be completing the assignment. If you choose to do a presentation, make sure that you still give me your references. You can do that on a separate piece of virtual paper, a separate document. So I know where you're making those connections. And what I would suggest is that if you're doing like a video like I'm doing, just say, this will be your in-text citation, in the reading, and then say the name of the reading so I know where you got something from. You can do a video, you can do a PowerPoint. Just make sure if you do a PowerPoint that you have recorded a voiceover as well. And you'll see some more information about that, about the expectations in your rubric. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'd be happy to set up a time to talk if it's a question that needs more than just an email answer. And I look forward to hearing from all of you in week 2 of our class. Take care and have a great week. Bye-bye.